A key witness in the Diddy trial has gone missing. This is super concerning because she is crucial for the case against one of the biggest names in music. She was actually going under a pseudonym like 3 other witnesses in the case, but she decided to waive that right and reveal her identity in her testimony. But now she's MIA. The federal prosecutors don't know where she is, her lawyers don't know where she is, and the prosecutors are using her testimony in the opening statement on May 12. That's not that far away. For now, she's known as Victim 3, and she was subpoenaed, which means that she is required to be.
I had home invasion robbers at my house. I've had 7 dudes in Cleveland come to the hotel room with their guns out and masks on.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, no, so I'm like, you know.
Just so you can focus before I go, if something happens to us after we get off this live, in the meantime, I just want you to know I have dropped paperwork, documents, information off to everybody around the world, and I'm telling all of you insurance holders that are watching this right now, if we are dead, there is no point for you to sit on that information. Do you hear me? No point.
About Barack Obama and Joe Biden that the world. How did it get there? Take us through your story.
Well, you know, as young as I remember, I've been trafficked through many elite places. I went from the Buckingham Palace to under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, still under the custody of Child Protective Services, the child welfare system. And everybody is so worried about the elite, and we could give those names of Barack Obama, Joe Biden. We know about Michelle Obama, that's a man. We know about Too Short. We know about Akon and Steven Tyler, and we can give those names all day, and everybody is so worried about that. But what you should be worried about is the people that are in between, the people that go as low as your grave diggers. I was trafficked to people within my school.
Katt Williams just dropped a straight up bombshell, and the internet can't stop buzzing. He's not holding anything back. He's saying Allie Carter didn't just up and vanish. Nah, she was taken. That's a whole different level, and people are shook. Now let's keep it real. Everything you're about to hear is based on serious allegations, wild claims, and what insiders close to the situation are spilling. Don't come for me. I'm just laying it all out, exactly how it's being told. Now here's where it gets even crazier. One of Allie's last live streams might have said it all. You could see it in her face and hear it in her voice. She was terrified.
Just so you can focus before I go, if something happens to us after we get off this live, in the meantime, I just want you to know I have dropped paperwork, documents, information off to everybody around the world, and I'm telling all of you insurance holders that are watching this right now, if we are dead, there is no point for you to sit on that information. Do you hear me? No point. You know, car accidents. There will be no fires or overdoses. But if there is one, can you read between the lines? There's a call from the prisons. Someone thinks that they have a green light on us that they don't even know what they're talking about.
This wasn't some clout-chasing moment. She was begging people to listen. In that video, she flat out named Diddy and his circle, and the internet exploded. According to her, this wasn't just about industry parties or celebrity drama. She was pointing to something way darker. She claimed they were running underground exploitation rings, stuff most people can't even wrap their heads around.
You knew these parties were not okay. They weren't freak-offs. They were satanic ritual. And one of those children were me. Bullshit. You see all the people running? They're ducking and hiding because everybody knows that there is children there. But we're still not talking about the kids yet. When are we gonna talk about the kids? Everybody's demanding something from the victims. Why aren't you demanding it from the news? You know he's about to turn into another Epstein, and then the list follows and it circles back into a web. So why isn't anybody demanding any information on the kids? Do you think that thousands of bottles worth of baby oil was for thousands of food? $65,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza was for who? Over the border was for who? Child Protective Services is your supplier. Is anybody gonna talk about that?
She talked about people being brought over from poor countries, vulnerable and desperate. Some, she said, were even handed off by their own families, thinking they were giving them a better future. But Ali said these people were being used, and in ways that would make most folks sick to their stomach.
Somebody will on the floor, somebody will piss on the floor, a guy will on the floor, a female will squirt on the floor, and they will bring in a child to walk through that, to play in it, to lay in it, to put on their body, to lick it, to see if they can walk around and act like a dog, to lick their shoe, to see how well their gag reflexes are. It's a gag reflex check.
Now here's where it gets seriously disturbing. One of the darkest moments in this whole mess. Ali went live and dropped something that had people frozen in shock. She said some of the victims were forced into acts so twisted it's hard to even say it out loud. She mentioned animals, horses, dogs, and said people can connect the dots themselves. That kind of horror, it's beyond words. She said grown men were just standing there watching, some even touching themselves like it was some sick, twisted show. It wasn't just disturbing, it was straight evil. And she didn't stop there. Ali claimed these people weren't just abused. They were chained up, locked in like prisoners, and forced to take part in rituals that had full-on satanic vibes. What she described? Pure nightmare fuel. And get this, Ali said she witnessed all of this with her own eyes while working inside the industry. She wasn't speaking from secondhand gossip. She said she was there. According to her, the trauma broke people completely. Survivors were left shattered, mentally destroyed, physically damaged, and some, she said they didn't survive at all.
Baby, they got a picture of a bunch of kids tied to a wall that's actually an auction. They're tied to a wall, and they're hanging on the wall. That's another form of an auction. Some auctions are very pretty. Some you get to stand, some you got to be naked. I had some really weird auctions. Some you're tied to a wall like produce or like retail. And basically like you're picking a t-shirt or you're picking clothes. Buyers come through wherever you're at, wherever they put you, and they literally like, okay, there's a white kid, there's a black kid, there's an Indian kid, there's a girl, there's a guy. They check how big your dick is, they check how much space your vagina has, they check your teeth, they check your anal cavity, they check everything.
They never made it out. Then boom, right after she aired all this, Ali vanished. Just like that. No warning, no more live streams. Her socials went dead. Total radio silence. Her family even went public begging for help. And the scariest part, according to multiple sources, there were no ransom demands.
And they say, oh, she started bleeding, so now she's damaged. I don't want that one. Guess what? Now you're gonna get beat by your pimp because you started bleeding. You're gonna get beat because, and at first they were sampling you like they were gonna buy you, and now they're not gonna buy you. And then after that, then you go back to wherever. You gotta wait until the next job, the next auction, the next whatever is gonna be next.
Nothing, just silence. And that made everything way more chilling. If this was about money, someone would have stepped up and demanded something, but nope, nobody did. That's what made it even scarier. It didn't look like a kidnapping for ransom. It looked like someone just wanted Ali gone, wiped out, silenced. And here's the real kicker. Ali had already been sending out warnings way before she disappeared. She was sounding the alarm, telling people something wasn't right. She even said plain as day that a strange man broke into her home, but this wasn't some random burglary. According to her, these weren't thieves, they were sent. She believed they were operatives hired to track her every move and shut her down before she could drop any more proof about the people she was calling out.
You get re-victimized again by people who wanted to argue it back and forth this week like that mattered. Okay, you had Stu Peters and Timothy Charles Homestead going back and forth, and nobody has even bothered. Not that I give a damn, and not that I understand that you guys are gonna be that selfish, but nobody has bothered to apologize for all the hell.
And Ali had receipts. In one of her posts, she showed her place completely destroyed, Furniture flipped, electronics smashed, personal stuff ripped to shreds. It looked like someone had gone through every inch searching for something.
Rock Avenue, because everybody has the address, because organizations that were attached to Marx, Sawyer, and many other organizations decided to put out the address, my license plate to one of my cars, and many other of my shit. So here you go. You can have it, right? You don't believe me? Here you go. What once was a full house, we were still paying rent on our house. What we were doing this whole time was moving everything because our house is gone. Our house is gone. This is the price of speaking out. This is the price of speaking out.
Lucky for her, she wasn't there when it happened, but that break-in sent a crystal clear message. They knew where she lived, and they were getting way too close. What came next was heartbreaking. Allie posted one of the rawest, most emotional videos she ever recorded. Her voice was shaking, and you could feel the pain, but she wasn't even talking about the break-in anymore. She was talking about the silence from people she thought had her back. Instead of helping, they were too busy arguing online, dragging each other, while she was out there begging to be heard. Now, when it came to the people Allie said were really behind all this, she didn't hold back. She named them, called it how she saw it, and the wild part, she didn't sound like she was making anything up. There was something raw, shaken, but real in her voice, like someone who had seen things nobody ever should. Then she dropped details that made people straight up sick. She started talking about underground auctions. And no, this wasn't some dramatic metaphor. According to Allie, these were real buyers, real victims. She said these people would show up, walk through like it was some twisted showroom, inspect the victims, even going as far as checking their teeth and body cavities like they were shopping for meat. It was beyond disturbing, pure horror.
Bleeding, then that takes more power because there's adrenochrome, there's power, there's control, there's extra money because you're paying to get rough. There's so much that you guys are not realizing that what this life is. These are children.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Allie mentioned something that took it to a whole new level of sick. She called it a ritual named Pijit, and what she described, it was something most people can't even process. We're talking about full-blown, ritualistic abuse so dark it's hard to even repeat. Allie made it real clear. What she was exposing wasn't just random chaos, it was planned, methodical, and rooted in something way darker. She said the core of it all was about one thing, the extraction of adrenochrome. Yeah, that word might sound familiar from conspiracy talk, but Allie said most people have no clue what it really means or how it's actually made. According to her, they weren't just using this red substance for some creepy shock factor. The goal was to make it as strong as possible. And to do that, victims had to be pushed to insane levels of fear. We're talking about a level of terror that most people couldn't even imagine, let alone survive. It wasn't just abuse, it was calculated, cold-blooded torture, all for a high. Allie wasn't just talking about shady footage or weird oils. Nah, she said she had solid proof. Evidence that could have blown the lid off the entire industry. Something so explosive, it would have crushed reputations, ended careers, and shut down powerful people for good. So when she disappeared, the folks already paying attention knew this wasn't random. This was the next move in a nightmare that had been unfolding step by step. That's when others started speaking up. Katt Williams was already on it.
Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need to know. You here? Get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But then Jaguar Wright jumped in too. And Jaguar, she's been through her own war with the industry, from being chased, silenced, even locked up. But she made it through. And when Allie vanished, Jaguar stepped up with her own jaw-dropping bombshells that took this whole thing to another level.
People didn't want to believe it. That's why they attacked me when I took the air out of her story. But see, when Allie Carter came back and, also addressed it, now that's just dead. They wanted to believe those homies.
Jaguar Wright came out swinging. She said straight up that the person behind Allie's disappearance wasn't Diddy. Nah, according to her, it went way deeper than that. She claimed it was someone way more hidden, a true puppet master pulling strings from the shadows. This was someone who specialized in silencing anyone bold enough to speak the truth. Allie? Just the latest target in a long line. But Jaguar didn't stop there. She reminded everybody that she and Katt Williams had been hunted too. She said Katt didn't just deal with drama, he survived a full-on home invasion, not some simple burglary. She said men broke in while he was asleep. It wasn't just a scare tactic, it was an attack. Luckily, it didn't go as planned, but it rattled him so bad that Katt reportedly started sleeping in a Kevlar bulletproof vest. That's how real it got. Now, Katt never put all those details out himself, but folks in his circle said he wasn't the same after that. You could see it in how he moved. And honestly, it lines up. Katt's never been afraid to speak the truth, and that's exactly what makes him a threat to the people trying to stay hidden. But here's where things start to get even wilder. After Jaguar dropped that info, more people started whispering. People who had stayed silent for years suddenly looked spooked. It was like Allie's disappearance lit a fuse, and now all kinds of names were being dragged into the spotlight. Some folks were calling out directors, label heads, media execs, big names who always kept clean images but moved like ghosts behind the scenes.
Allie was put in foster care. I was advocating for her, and I was reporting back, and I was writing reports and turning in reports to CPS based on the she was telling me that she was experiencing while in foster care. At first, they embraced me, and they were allowing me to have visitation with her. When I started making too many waves, they turned everything back on me. They filed a court order that said I was a predator to Allie, and they were telling me I was not allowed to have contact with her because they were trying to silence things, and they were using that as a means to scare me. Shortly after that, Allie went missing from CPS care. She was AWOL for over a year. After that year was up, they placed her with me. They said I was a good home and a good fit for her, and they allowed her to be placed in my home. Those are two opposite things in a very short time, but they do that to a lot of parents. That's a tactic they use to silence people.
Rumors started flying that there was a whole network working to cover everything up, not just taking people out, but scrubbing files, shutting down social accounts, wiping phones, like they were trying to erase every trace of the truth before it exploded in public. And the scary part, it was working. Videos that used to be up, gone, posts deleted, Allie's old lives vanished or mysteriously glitched. People close to the case said investigators weren't even touching it. No updates, no press conferences, no heat on any suspects. It was like she'd never existed. That silence, it spoke volumes. And for those already watching from the sidelines, it only confirmed one thing. This wasn't just some celebrity drama gone too far. Then came the whispers about the list. Yeah, that list, the one Allie was supposedly working on before she vanished.
About Barack Obama and Joe Biden that the world. How did it get there? Take us through your story.
Well, you know, as young as I remember, I've been trafficked through many elite places. I went from the Buckingham Palace to under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, still under the custody of Child Protective Services, the child welfare system. And everybody is so worried about the elite, and we could give those names of Barack Obama, Joe Biden. We know about Michelle Obama, that's a man. We know about Too Short. We know about Akon and Steven Tyler, and we can give those names all day, and everybody is so worried about that. But what you should be worried about is the people that are in between, the people that go as low as your grave diggers. I was trafficked to people within my school.
According to people who were close to her, she was putting together names, dates, even locations. She wanted to drop a full expose, something that would connect powerful names to real receipts. Not just rumors, but proof. Hard, undeniable proof. She was planning to leak it all online, drop it in pieces so it couldn't get buried. Word is, she even had backups stored in different places just in case something happened to her. But after she went missing, Those files never surfaced, not one, like they were wiped clean before they could go live. Some think someone on the inside flipped on her, someone she trusted. And now, the fear is that the list still exists, and whoever has it might be using it as leverage, a bargaining chip, or worse, keeping it locked away so the truth stays buried forever. Katt Williams has never been the type to play it safe. From exposing shady contracts to calling out weird behavior in Hollywood, on stage, in interviews, wherever, he always kept it raw. He never bit his tongue. And that reputation for being brutally honest, it's exactly why people started taking Ali Carter's claims a whole lot more seriously. When someone like Katt doesn't flinch at the truth, people listen. And here's the real twist. The longer Ali stayed missing, the more everything she said started to click. Things that sounded wild at first suddenly didn't seem so far off. Now, word on the street is that Katt and Jaguar Wright have been working together behind the scenes to figure out what really happened to Ali. Allegedly, before she disappeared, Ali sent out pieces of evidence. Audio clips, documents, maybe even names to people she trusted, including Katt. She knew what she was sitting on was dangerous, so she tried to protect it the only way she could. That's why Katt, Jaguar, and a few others are still pushing. They're not letting this go quiet.
They were babies that were 6 years old, and I'll never forget them just crying, and everybody was just staring at them. Everybody was just staring at each other. Nobody knew whether or not to move. I was freaked out. And I got up and I held her. And they opened the trunk and they took her from me. Because they said she was already sick.
Because if even half of what Ali said was real, then we're looking at something way bigger than just one missing woman. Not just celebrities, but executives, producers, even government-connected figures, people in high places who always seemed untouchable. Suddenly, whispers were flying that Ali had stumbled onto something that crossed way past the entertainment world. This wasn't just about Hollywood. It was about power, control, and silence on a global level. Some say the reason nothing's been done publicly is because the people being protected aren't just rich, they're connected. The type of people who can make entire stories disappear, scrub headlines, and flip narratives overnight. And Ali? She was threatening to pull that mask off. Now, Katt and Jaguar aren't just fighting for Ali. They're pushing to crack open a system that's been protected for decades. Every piece of evidence they hold could trigger something way bigger than just a scandal. We're talking courtroom level stuff, federal heat, maybe even international. Even folks online who usually don't believe anything couldn't deny how real Ali sounded. One user posted, "Ali is the most believable I've heard in a long time." Another one said, "This right here is why people stay quiet. She was brave enough to speak out and now she's gone. Hollywood needs to be shut all the way down. She deserved protection, not silence." And honestly, they're not wrong. So what do you think about this jaw-dropping mess? Do you believe Ali was on to something massive? Or do you think there's more smoke than fire? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Let's talk about it, for real. We're going deep on stories most people are too scared to touch. And if you're here for raw, unfiltered truth and the kind of stories that make you question everything, don't just scroll past. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and smash that notification bell so you never miss a drop. The stuff we've got lined up next, let's just say it gets even wilder. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Stay sharp, because the truth doesn't hide forever.